Asa, congregation of the Greater Good Spirit, Father, and Bashim Shine. As always, Lord willing, I pray this lesson be edifying. Before I get started, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Kakadash, Nathan Mashanaka Balas, Kom Shah Yashra. Let's give the honors to the elders of Israel, which are the elders of your master, to teach well. And wash all the one, Baba Baki Yashra Yashra. Let's please and bless the elect of Israel. All right, basically wanted to do a quick topic. I do spend probably about Shemel Shai. I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but I was just basically, moved through the spirit to actually do this lesson. Strike Water Fire is Hot. Actually was watching like a little, it wasn't a long video, but it was a video I was watching. I was watching the Yashawamba, the Dallas camp, the Dallas brothers. And it was like a little, I want to say a snippet. I just call it a snippet, but it was a short film, right? The video point was at like 136 start. Probably was like 136. I'll go back and find that talking point, and I should be able to post it in the description box of this lesson. But basically, skillfully adding. They was basically just dealing with heathen wives, and dealing with the heathen when it came to dealing with the heathen, the order and how we went about it and how we do it. I just wanted to skillfully add and just jump to this Deuteronomy 7th chapter, right? Because I believe on that lesson, on the topic, the talking point, the elder was going in on Numbers the 12th chapter where Moses was dealing with the heathen women, right? And basically made a beautiful point. He was making beautiful points. So like I said, moved me to just start one, and I'll start off with Deuteronomy the 7th chapter. Won't be all long and deep and drawn out or nothing like that, but with this topic, it brings out a lot of emotions of people. And Jake, a lot of Jakes go as far as saying that dealing with the heathen women is the sea hip, and I mean, not the sea hip, the mark of the beast is what they say. Dealing with the heathen women is what Revelation 13 chapter is talking about, man. Then they changed it, things of that nature. So I'll just go in on this, right? In which, by the way, that's off doctrine, right? To teach that, right? So I'll start off with this. This is Deuteronomy 7:1, right? And matter of fact, when we read this, right, the history behind it. This is matter of fact. I'll just read the verse. It says, when Yahweh Shemashah thy power shall bring thee into the land, whether thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites. It says, and the Amorites. You have the Ammonites and you have the Amorites, right? It says, and the Canaanites and the Pizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, seven nations greater and mightier than thou, right? So when you go into this, this was actually going into the entire inheritance land, which I actually have a map of right here pulled up, right? This is the division of the promised land of 12 tribes of Israel. This is how the layout of what it was, in the ancient time, right? But ultimately, when we're reading in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter, what we're reading about is, within our inheritance land was where you had those nations that we were just reading, right? The nations that were listed, right, were spread throughout our land. So ultimately, right, the Lord rose up Joshua after Moses, it said, and when you go into it, that Joshua basically led us into these different battles against the heathen to drive them out, drive them out, right? And ultimately, when you read into this chapter, you'll see that the Lord, He didn't want us to have nothing to do with the heathen that were in our land. And this is what we're reading about when we read Deuteronomy 7, 7th chapter, right? Which a lot of guys like to use this, and we're gonna break it down and like to go into this and try and make it like we're not able to deal with the heathen, but the Lord, when you read it and read it in its context, we'll see that the Lord was talking about these particular nations. Right now, they were within our borders. They were in our land, possessing our land, right? And we were to drive them out and to utterly destroy them. But the nations that dwelt further out, right, we could deal, right? So we'll go into it, right? I'll start off. I'll keep reading a little bit more on this. Yeah. So ultimately, I'll read it again. No, I'll read verse 2. It says, and when the Lord thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. So this is the people that it's talking about, these nations right here, right? These these were Hamites, man, right? So these Hamite nations were the Amorites, right? We were to destroy them. You see, it says to utterly, ultimately to what? To utterly destroy them. It says, and thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shoot mercy unto them. It says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. It says, thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughters unto thy sons, right? It says, so this is the key talking point right here, verse 4. It says, for they will turn away thy sons from following me. So this is the whole point, right? When we're reading this about the nations and the heathen, and we, not to deal with these heathen, it was because of this right here. For they will turn away thy sons from following me, that thou mayest serve other gods. They will turn our hearts, right? And this is what the Lord knew. The Lord knew this would happen, right? If we was to, if we would give in, right, until to not utterly destroy them, right? They would have had our people would become tributaries, worshiping their gods, worshiping their deities, and child sacrifices, all those different things that these Hamites were into, right? When you read the scriptures, they call them merciless murderers, for all the acts that they were, that they were bound to. It says, for they will turn away thy sons from following me, that thou may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. You see? So let's read verse 4, right? So we see that the talking point is that this was the whole point of everything that was being said and not dealing with them, is that they will turn our hearts away, right? So let's see what the Lord told us to do. It says, thus shall ye deal with them. It says, but thus shall ye deal with them. This is how you should deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. You see, so basically burn their shit to the ground, man, right? Burn their shit to the ground is what the Lord told us, man, right? So you got a lot of people that read this and get their panties in a bunch ultimately, right? And say we can't deal with, the heathen women, right? But ultimately the Lord gave us, the order and, the law, and basically how to deal with heathen women, not these heathen women, but heathen women in general, right? Because you got these guys that say, the mark of the beast is dealing with white women, and so on and so forth, right? But the Lord have given us the wisdom on how to deal according to the law, right? But he was very specific about these Canaanites that we're reading about in Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, right? That were in our land. So the main point was that they would turn our hearts, right, to their gods, man, right? So I'm gonna get this. This is Deuteronomy 20, right? This is Deuteronomy 20, and we're gonna start at verse 10, right? So it says, so we can't, we can't deal with heathen women. Right? If we can, if that was the case, right? Let's just see what this scripture says, right? So it says, verse 10, it says, when thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. It says, and it shall be, if thou, it says, and it shall be, it says, it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be, that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee. So like it, and they shall serve thee, right? And that's ultimately what will have ended up happening, right? It says, and if I will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it, right? Verse 13, it says, and when the Lord thy power had delivered it into thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. So that's what we're doing. That's what you do. It says, but the women and the little ones and cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy power have given thee. You see, so what's the difference between this verse and the last verse? This verse is telling us to take the women, right, and take the cattle and take the spoils of war. You see, but the last verse, the Lord told us to to burn it to the ground, man. You see, the previous verse tells us what? The opposite. But here it tells us, like we're saying, to take spoils, to, right? And ultimately, this shows you, when you read Deuteronomy 7th chapter, that the Lord was talking about specifically via the Canaanites in our land, man, on how to deal with them, right? So let's read 15. Salaki. Yeah, 15. It says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee. So it says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations, right? So the ones that were far off from us were the ones that you see on the outer borders, right? So it says, I'll read 15 again. Damn, it's cold in here. It says, thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities, which are not of the cities of these nations, right? So ultimately, what we dealt differently with, we dealt differently with the nations that were far off, man. Which are the ones, like we just showed on the map, which are the ones that were out on the outskirts of our land, right? And then when you go back into the history, you read, you see that the Lord's actually bringing on the judgments unto these nations, right? So this verse 16, it says, but of the cities of these people, which of the Lord thy power doth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth. So the Lord told us to save alive nothing that breatheth, nothing that breathe, kill it, right? It says, but thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites. It says the Jebusites. It says, as the Lord thy God had commanded thee. Same ones that what we're reading about, man. You see, so the Lord makes an obvious difference, and he puts a delineator between the ones who were in our inherited land and those who are far off from our inherited land, man. Right? The Lord told us to kill them all, man. Right? It says that they teach you not to do after all their abominations which they have done unto their gods. So should ye sin against the Lord Yahweh your God. You see, so same talking point is that what? That they teach you not to do after their abominations. That was the whole point, man. You see, that whole Deuteronomy 7 is a saying that we can't deal with heathen women. Now it was a way that we dealt with them, which the Yashawamba went into beautifully. You see, but when you read that Deuteronomy 7 chapter, you have to read that chapter, and you have to read those verses in its proper context, and put precept upon precept to get the understanding, man, that the Lord was talking about those specific nations, right? So let's get this. 21, right? So if he was talking about all nations, that 20 would have been a contradiction to verse 7, which we know there are no contradictions with the Lord, man. Let's read 21 and 10. So let's do Deuteronomy 21, right, and 10. So this is what would happen if you, like we went to, you would go to war against a city. It says, when thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and the Lord thy power, Yahweh thy power, hath delivered them into thy hands, it says, and thou shalt take them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman. So like we saying, at war, right? This is what will happen. It says, and thou seest, you got, when you look at different movies and you see chaos going on and swords swinging, all kind of shit going on, people dying, everything going down when a person siege of, like a village is being sieged, like they show in these movies. They'll show you a village being sieged, and they have a beautiful woman trying to run and scream, right? This is what will happen. It says, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hath a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, right? Remember, they're overcoming the enemies, war against the enemies, right? It says, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. You see, so this is what would happen. You would, when you go to war, you would grab her up, right? You would take her, right? You would give her time. This is what we're reading about. I'm gonna keep reading. It's gonna you're gonna give her time to mourn, right? It says, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. Hold on. But I thought we couldn't deal with it. I thought we couldn't deal with what it says. It says, and she shall be, thou shalt be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. You can take her, you can deal with her, right? According to how you're supposed to deal with her, man, right? But it says, yeah, that was the point that I wanted to make on that, right? You see a fair woman, you take her, right? And you do the and put that order down of however you know that righteous order, man, right? So this is what happened at war. You, like we say, you see it, you grab her up, give her time, you give her that period of time to mourn her father and those that died in war, or her mother died, or because her mother died because she had a husband, right? Because when you read the scriptures, every woman that wasn't a virgin had to be put to death, and I believe that's Numbers the 31st. Let me see. Numbers 31 and 16, it says, behold, these caused the children of Israel, Salakia, behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the manner, no, that's not it. Oh, 17. It says, now therefore kill every male among the little ones. It says, and kill every woman that have known man by lying with him. It says, but all the women children that have not known a man by lying with them, keep alive for yourselves, man. You see? So when you would go and ultimately it's just showing that women are ultimately spoils of war, man. Right? Let me jump back to that last verse because I don't know if I finished it. I wanted to keep going on this a little bit. It says, then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he had, that he may not make the sons of the beloved firstborn. No, that's really it. That was really it. Salakia. No, Salakia. I'm going off. I don't even think I finished this. Oh, Allah for yourselves. 7 days. Oh, con. Let me see. Touching the slain, purified, right? No, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I touched all the points that I wanted to touch. Right, but ultimately these are the laws, right? In the scriptures on how it went down. Just paint an image of how it happened when you would go to war against the enemies, and how you dealt with the spoils of war, because women are nothing more but spoils of war. You see, at the end of the day, right? And you were taken for yourself, right? Like we see on the movies, man. And we read it. When we read Deuteronomy 20, the 21st chapter, the 11th verse, it says, beautiful woman, you take her, you be thy wife, right? You be husband, right? So straight to the point, right? You deal with the heathen women, man, at the end of the day, man, right? But during that time of, let me jump back, but during that time, right, in this time frame, right, the Lord was specifically talking about, right, these heathen, these nations, right, that were dwelling in our land, right? And ultimately you have many scriptures of men of the Lord that dealt with multiple wives and heathen wives, and but the point of the problem came where we're dealing with the heathen women was when your heart would be turned into their gods. Genesis the 6th chapter, the sons of God that got with the daughters of men. Guess what happened? Their hearts were turned into those gods, right? And it grieved the Lord. King Solomon. When you read in 1 Kings 11th chapter, his heart declared, went to those guys. When you read, I actually get this one, and I ended off with this one. Nehemiah 13. This is Nehemiah 13 and verse 23. It says mixed marriages, right, forbidden. It says, in those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. It says, and their children spake half of the speech of Ashdod. It could not speak the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them and cursed them and smote them, so certain of them, and plucked off their hair and made them swear by the Most High, saying, ye shall not give your daughters and your sons, nor take their daughters, neither their sons, into yourselves, right? Because they were, going off into their other gods and serving the heathenistic gods and so on and so forth, man. But I'll read Deuteronomy 7:1 again. And I ended off with that. That's really all I had through the Spirit. Just wanted to show that when you read this in its proper context, in that time, the Lord was talking about those heathen that were in our land. So it says, when the Lord thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites, it says, and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. He told us, kill everything that breatheth, burn their shit to the ground. It says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, and his daughters unto take unto thy sons, for they will turn away thy sons from following me, that they may serve other gods. So the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. And this was the whole point. This is the main focal talking point, is that what our hearts will be turned to their gods. And that's ultimately what happened. When you're reading the scriptures, you talk about how they made our people tributaries and were like a thorn in their side, man. You know, so Lord willing, I pray this lesson was edifying and quick and to the point. And, you know, I made sense and I didn't lose or confuse anybody. I don't give out praise, sign, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakadash. I'm give the honor to the apostle and elders, a great millstone, really teach well. And peace and salutation to you. I come on the 4 winds, pushing truth to sincerity and diligence. Till next time. Shalom.